That's really sad.
I think it is. Well, it's like maybe the knee assessment.
Just
If
to
he looks,
clarify,
huh?
a lot of times
Tired.
timekeepers go one, so some part of me's getting confused sometimes when it's 1 minute or point of information.
I'll. Does anyone mind me where I just do the real quick, like 1 minute thing, like I was doing last night?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? All right. So then I will just be interjecting with information from now on. It just I just was backing up that we did talk about discussing, which makes sense because we would have to want to know our exact plan of action. Not that we're like talking behind someone's back, but know what we want to say to that person and exactly how. Like I saw that we were agreeing on like trying to bring awareness to signs and things like that, but we didn't solidify any sort of course of action before maybe bringing someone in, and then it would just be aimless banter.
Is this something, the road we want to go down?
Yes.
John, were you finished?
No, I just wanted to say if he's here, I'm gonna bring him over, and that's all I'm suggesting.
Lars, Whitney.
So this is a place where the Women's Voices GA kind of seems like practice for this, because it seems like personally I would just really like to hear some women's voices about what what an outcome would be, or some brainstorming, just because I want to be supportive, and I don't really have a sense of like I don't want to make any assumptions about what a
Ask this any other time than right now, but I need either duct tape or a clip to keep this from falling. And it's the youth stream for this event. I lost 25 minutes recorded of the first part because of that, so I just wanted to ask if anyone happens to. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I tried asking earlier.
Yeah, I kind of think we're skirting a huge issue here. Forgive me, when you first described this, you mentioned that he said something about you guys being lucky that there were 3 of you there.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that yet. And this is not a simple issue of failing to read a sign. Let's be honest, it seems incredibly improbable that he failed to read the sign. It seems very probable to me, at least, that there is a much bigger and deeper respect issue that goes beyond respect for women here, because we as a General Assembly, whatever that turned into the first night, agreed to let the women do that thing there, whatever they want to call it. And so it's an issue of respect for the entire collective here. And we haven't talked about that. It's not just an issue of getting someone to agree to read signs. There's clearly like a major problem with human interaction going on here, and I don't think we should focus on the particular issue of the signs so much as what is actually happening here. And the comments that you made, I mean, this is incredibly disturbing, and I'm not sure that I personally want people like that to be around me at all.
Jen, then Alan.
For dialogue opened up, as seemed to suit him, then I would hope that whoever was on companion duty would be able to handle that, and maybe be somebody from a support group or conflict and support group, or someone who had gone to the workshop on Friday or something like that.
So Denise, and then Kat, and then Alan, Dave, and John.
And Stack is up for adding closing signs.
Do we want to add more time to this topic? We definitely want to add more time to this topic. Do we want to add another 10 minutes of this topic?
I was wondering if the women have something this morning. The women announced that they were going to have that meeting this morning. Just wanted to make that clarification. Just to shed a little bit of light, I think this person has a specific problem with feminine qualities of being calm, loving, and that sort of thing. Because anytime that we've had conversations that were of that, I guess you could say emotional or whatever nature, that he seemed to get very short very quickly and started being explosive about the productivity of what we're doing. So I think that it's probably a thing he has against femininity or those qualities generally.
point of information, this person has also appeared to multiple individuals, including myself, to be intoxicated pretty frequently here.
I don't know if this is information, because I'm going to start with I think, but I think we are talking about two different people.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that too.
Want me to turn this
The
off?
gentleman that was drunk said he lives near here.
I definitely want to clarify this. There was a man with curly hair the very first night who was drunk. Spike had to take him out of SERCO. Tommy, I think?
Oh, that's not wrong. That's
Not
not wrong.
Tommy.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay.
I was under the impression that the individual we're talking about was intoxicated.
Okay, I just wanted to be very clear.
If they need me to turn this off.
I guess
No, I understand what we're talking about, but I'm
Okay.
still under the
Let me know.
impression he's been intoxicated.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And it also helps to.
I mean, it sounds from,
Mic check.
it sounds from, you know, the experience of the women who are there, that it was a pretty uncomfortable situation, and, you know, it's worth addressing. I kind of just, I mean, I kind of have a bit of an issue with, like, just, you know, if the person's here, then that's the person that it needs to be addressed to. And if the person's not here, I'm kind of concerned about, you know, us having like a verbal lynch mob where we just kind of like talk about someone who continually wasn't here, who isn't here to address, you know, criticisms about that person.
Direct response from
And also it's kind of, you know, it's very hypothetical. It's like, what would we do if he were here? We can talk about that, but it doesn't, you know, it's not going to lead us anywhere if the person's left.
So I have to disagree with that because I feel like the process of us talking about this is really important, you know, for us as a community to figure out ways to deal with these kinds of issues in healthy ways. That to me is worth, I'm sorry that this happened, but I'm also grateful for the opportunity to work on this with you guys because I think our collective intelligence can, you know, make progress in this kind of area. So I just want to say that.
So Jasmine also had a direct response. I don't know if that trumps point of whatever.
We're not just saying, what would we do if he was here? We're saying, what would we do in the future if this happens again to someone else? That way we can have a response to it right when it happens, not to wait until the end of the day for GA to talk about this. So if the next SERCO, this man comes back, or if anyone else that acts like this comes back and is threatening towards people in a safe space, we can say, at the last SERCO or Florida GA, we have made these guidelines. If you're going to be here, if you exhibit this behavior, we have all decided on it's not acceptable and this is the way to go about it. So we at least have a way to deal with it in the future.
Is it really a point of information, or do you
Yes,
need to
it
get
really is. I haven't
Okay.
used those yet, not to my knowledge. I was going to state that we already took a temperature check on including this person as part of the conversation, and the result was overwhelmingly negative.
So I like that idea of the buddy system, but since he isn't here, and maybe for the future when somebody comes and then leaves and we can't find them, but we have some information, like we know he's from Miami, I was wondering how everybody would feel about maybe emailing Occupy Miami, telling them about the incidents and letting them know that one of their people came and did this, and that maybe they should make a point to have this discussion themselves in their own GAs.
Dave, then John, then
He had a clarification.
I just was curious, I've heard the statement that he's not here a lot. Do we mean that he's not in this general vicinity, or is someone here certain that he is no longer on these grounds? Question.
Dave.
He is here. I just saw him 20 seconds ago. So to continue, what I believe is immediately after this incident occurred, I was sitting out under the table and had an exchange with this person, and I did not know what had just happened. But he said something to the effect of, wow, it's so stupid that they have their own meeting. What would people say if we had a men's only meeting?
That's a good idea.
And I, without derailing the conversation about the specific incident, I want to acknowledge a connection to something that we were talking about a couple of days ago, which is, you know, we have to acknowledge that we come, and he continued to say, like, you know, shouldn't we live in a world without racism and sexism, right? And so this is something that I mentioned on Friday, that sometimes those impulses do come from a good place, this idea that we don't need to have separate spaces because shouldn't we just live in a world where we're all equal? But I think it's, and I do think there are a lot of people who express that viewpoint when they're objecting to things like women's spaces and groups for people of color and et cetera. But I think that this is an important illustration of the fact that color blindness, gender blindness are often sort of ideological masks for functional sexism and racism in the world that we live in. And sometimes it comes down to some very specific and very hurtful and damaging actions.
There's a point of clarification from Karen
So
and a point of information from Lisa.
Thank you. I just want to be sure now that we're still talking about the same person, because I heard Tommy being uncomfortable with this separate women's space, and that's not who we're talking about with this incident. So I want to make, so I've heard that same expression from multiple people, so it's irrelevant that you're saying that. But I just want to make sure that we're not getting confused about who we're talking about again.
Thank you.
And the point of information from me is that when that person said to you the thing about a men's GA, we even suggested having one. A woman suggested it at Occupy Gainesville during the women's meeting, and some of us aren't interested in that, so it's not it wouldn't be a shocker to us.
Can I respond to clarify? So the name was Mike, I believe. Mark?
Okay.
And he's wearing a black bandana and has a beard? Same person?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay, well then I'm glad.
No, okay, thank you, because I was thinking.
We still don't know the person.
Okay, sorry.
John's next on stack, then Quinn,
Okay, strike that
Lars, and Jen.
And me.
The only point that I would like to explore is maybe a manifestation of ageism in a sense. People of my generation, I'm 70 years old, sort of cut our teeth humiliating women, and that's not so easy to overcome, because it ends up being sort of normalized. And I hope that I'm past that at this point in my life, but I know what that's like. And my immediate response to hearing about this before I inquired as to what the age of this fellow was that maybe he was just, sometimes it's embarrassing to run into half-naked women and you say something sexist to sort of cover it, you know. And but I don't think that was probably the case, and I don't have any way of defending this. I do thank God that I wasn't the one that walked up on y'all, because, I might have said something stupid. I don't know if I'd have said something inappropriate. I know that I can walk past signs without reading them. I hate to indict him on that one point, but at the same time, I think he's an asshole. You got, John. Too bad I just fucked up again. I'm a shitty amateur.
Mic check.
So the question comes up again, do we know if he's here or not? Because
We don't. We just answered that. We don't.
No, we didn't. It is time. Are we extending steps, or?
You want to extend
I
time?
have a point of process, I have a point of information, and I still have 4 people on staff.
I was thinking maybe we could do the time for.
Okay, want to add more time? Of course you want to add more time. Okay. So, what do we say, to 5 minutes? 10? All right, we're spending 35 minutes on this issue.
That's good. It's a good issue.
All right. No, it's a good. It's good.
So my point of process was going to be if we can maybe focus. We're having a really good development on how to approach this issue in general, and then we started to really focus on the person, and it didn't really. I couldn't think of how to approach the issue by just focusing on the person. That's just me, but I didn't know if that's what we were talking about more or not. So that's why I did that.
Thank you.
What? So I guess maybe it isn't a good point of process.
If we're off topic, then it is a good
No,
point
it was
of
good.
process.
Thank you.
Okay. That's what a point of process is for. So let's get back on topic and talk about this issue.
Making good sense, half of our staff asking whether or not this man is here or not. If the person that brought up this issue has said, I would prefer not to have him here during the discussion. Whether he is here or not does not make a difference during the actual discussion part.
There's a bunch of people on stack before you all, but I guess.
Could you
Would anyone like to go for a
someone's
quick walk?
dropped it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will.
I will.
Does this table this discussion till later on?
Yeah.
Where's everybody going?
Boy, it's a posse.
Is there a lynch mob leaving? Is it a lynch mob leaving?
Does this table this part of the conversation for a little bit because we just lost like people that actually, like while they're walking about it? I'm just
Another point of process.
So I have an idea that maybe we take a 5-minute break to sort this out and then come back and like settle in again and
Thank you.
start the conversation.
5-minute break.
Is that cool?
5-minute break.
Okay.
Oh, for God's sake, I've got this upside down. Jesus Christ.